Subscribe to see what's next. It's Clip City Connect.
YouTube. What is the deal? It's your guy TJ Anderson, and I'm logging in again to bring you guys another hit classic, another video. And guys, I have a special treat for you guys today that are tuning in. And you guys know how I do it. It's a tradition. My main man, you got the floor.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Ethan Minton. I'm a 15-year-old award-winning sports journalist. I'm based in Sacramento, California, so I typically cover Sacramento Kings and pretty much all things NBA. So really excited to be here. This is really the beginning of my journey into the world of journalism, so you're catching me early if you're here.
Hey, and I love it, man. To be 15 once again, I'm actually a lot older than you, Ethan. I'm 32 years old, so
It's not too old.
oh man, I can't tell by the way my knees are bucking and the knees are popping and all kind of bones just making all kind of noises, man. But it's a pleasure to have you on, Ethan. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Nice. So let's get into a little bit of your background and journey, right? So how did you get started in sports journalism at a young age, and what drew you to covering the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge sports fan. I think some of my earliest memories are watching football, basketball with my dad. That's how we really connected early on in my life. And also, in terms of connecting writing with my love of sports, I've always been a big reader, I've been a voracious reader. And through that, I've been introduced to a lot of different forms of writing. And what connected me to journalism, though, was a summer class I took at a local high school where a bunch of us, we all got to write a piece for that high school's incoming newsletter or newspaper. And I honestly became hooked right then and there. The idea of going up, interviewing people, putting yourself out there, connecting with people, that really stood out to me. And eventually, I think I was in 8th grade and I had the idea to write a personal blog and just start covering the Sacramento Kings. I mean, I specifically was drawn to the NBA just because there's a team in my hometown. The A's weren't in Sacramento just yet, so the Kings were the one professional team that we had in our city. So I thought, why not just write about them? I know a lot about the intricacies of basketball, different sets, all that kind of stuff. So everything kind of pointed into the direction of writing about the NBA, and it's been an incredible journey. I've met a lot of great people through my work, connecting with some great folks, and I mean, this is just the beginning, as I mentioned earlier.
Definitely have a bright future, my man. I got to read a couple of your articles. I love it. I love
Thank
it. I
you.
love it. I love it. No, it's man, you're putting in the work, you know. So when you putting in the work, the credit comes due, man, and you definitely deserve the credit. You have a very
Absolutely.
bright future in the industry, my man. So keep going forward.
Thank you.
So I kind of want to follow up with my next question, right? So, what has the journey been like going from a high school early career journalist to covering the Sacramento Kings full time?
Yeah, I mean, covering the Kings extensively has been a really rewarding experience for me. Every article, just because I love the Kings so much, every article I write is essentially a passion project. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy every write-up, everything. I mean, obviously, I write articles based on fact and they are unbiased, but
Mhm.
I still feel like a little bit of passion kind of shines through the pages in that sense. And I still go to high school, but over the summer, I've been able to be named a writer for the lead, which is incredibly exciting. My first time writing for a major platform like that. And I mean, I'm a huge Kings fan, so just putting myself out there and getting my name out there, people pointing to my writing as some sort of as a source, or people kind of looking up to the work that I'm doing, kids looking up to the work that I'm doing. It's all just absolutely incredible. And honestly, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and every interaction, every experience is just surreal. I mean, whether it's going to summer league and interviewing Darvin Ham, who is the Bucks assistant coach, or a few years back when I was around 11, getting to interview the Sacramento Kings players. I mean, every experience, I don't take it for granted, and I'm really excited for what the future is going to hold. I'm putting in the work early, as you said.
Absolutely. You're putting in the work, and like I say, the fruit of the labor will always show.
Yeah.
And to be so young and to get into an industry like that, man, it's crazy, but it's amazing to see because it's not it's not common at all.
Right.
So you're definitely doing something that I definitely find as inspirational, and
Thank
I
you.
think this is going to be something that you like a trend that you're going to start Very soon. Very,
Hope
very
so.
soon. So I want to talk about next covering the Kings, right?
Mhm.
And so with my next question coming up is what's the current state of the Sacramento Kings organization and what should fans be excited about moving forward?
Yeah, well, the Sacramento Kings are currently in a bit of a rebuild, although it's an interesting one. If you look at teams like the Washington Wizards or the Utah Jazz, even, they've got a lot of young pieces and they don't have very huge contracts. Well, now that the Wizards do with Trae Young, Anthony Davis, as who they signed or traded for at last year's trade deadline, but beforehand, it was pretty much all young pieces, a lot of cap space, a lot of money to work with. But the Kings, both last year and this year, as they've been a part of this rebuild, they've got major contracts in their books. I mean, they have Domantas Sabonis owed over $40 million. Zach LaVine, who this year is owed $49 million. They got off DeMar DeRozan's contract by waiving and stretching him earlier this offseason. But it's a pretty tough point of time for the Sacramento Kings. They're not going to be good by any means. I expect maybe a 20, 30 win season, similar to what we saw last year. But there is a lot to be excited about. I think with Darius Acuff Jr. out of the University of Arkansas, their 7th overall pick. You've also got Emmanuel Sharp from the University of Houston, and you've got Alex Caravan from the University of Connecticut. All those guys are outstanding young players. We saw both at the California Classic and Las Vegas Summer League, just a lot of their strong suits. I'm a big fan of Emmanuel Sharp. I know you're from Houston, and his style of play is so exciting to me. I mean, he can lock down defenders. I'd say 1 through 3, positions 1 through 3. One play that stood out to me was against the last team that they played, which is the Boston Celtics. He was falling down to the ground, and he still stripped the ball from an offensive player. I mean, he plays with a high motor. Darius Acuff Jr. is also a phenomenal player. We haven't seen his efficiency or defense up to par with what we'd like to see, but he's still an incredible scorer. And I think the Kings are prioritizing adding young pieces. I think they're going to show a willingness this year to put guys like Zach LaVine, who are on major contracts, on the bench. And last year, there was a lot of roster politics. Doug Christie had to play guys like Russell Westbrook or DeMar DeRozan major minutes because that's just how it kind of worked. These guys would only really buy into the Kings if they were to play major minutes. But Scott Perry and the Kings organization aren't going to play by those rules anymore. And I'm excited for what we're going to see this year. It's not going to be pretty, but it's very exciting what we're going to see.
I'm not gonna lie. Being a guy from Houston, I'll say the Houston area. I'm really from. I'm 45 minutes south in the Galveston County area. I don't know if you ever heard of Galveston.
Yeah.
But just being able to watch U of H, man, I think Kelvin Sampson's embroidered that toughness that I haven't seen from any other college coach.
Absolutely.
I think Kelvin Sampson has something going. I think he looks not just for certain players, but in terms of skill set, but also players in terms of mentality. And he builds that mentality into a dog-like mentality, especially on defense.
Yeah.
And I got to watch Emmanuel Sharp play for the Kings in summer league, and he's showing me something. I actually got to watch him play my first time last year against Oakland.
Okay.
And he showed me a lot. He's not tall by any means, but he was locking down anybody, like you said, from 1 to 3. It didn't matter what position they played. So it was very fascinating to see. And it's crazy because I'm a Houston Rockets fan through and through, and I really want the Rockets to draft Emmanuel Sharp. Now they ended up going a different route with Bruce Thornton, who's also been playing very well.
Yeah.
But with the Kings drafting those 3 guys and Darius Acuff Jr., who I think could be, who he has all-star potential.
Yeah.
And having Emmanuel Sharp, who I think could play some very valuable minutes for the Kings this upcoming season, and Alex Caravan, who's going to be pretty solid. I think the Kings are moving in the right direction in terms of rebuilding. So
Definitely.
I think it's fascinating to see. So with that being said, I want to ask you, how do you see the Kings roster evolving after recent moves, and what are the biggest keys for them next season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the Kings roster is going to evolve over the course of the next couple of years into majority young players. I think you got a young core that's being built, as I mentioned, with Acuff, Sharp, Caravan, They all play their roles to the best of their ability. Caravan, a great spacer, Sharp, a 3-and-D guy, and Acuff, the primary ball handler and shot creator. And you're going to see guys like DeMontis Sabonis and Zach LaVine moved on from. We're going to see a new wave, a next generation of younger talent. And I know Keegan Murray was brought in as the 4th overall pick for the Kings in 2022, but then eventually, I'd say in a couple of years, he's going to be the veteran presence, and we're going to see a wave of young pieces. The Kings have pretty much all their first-round picks moving forward. They have first-round picks of other teams as well. They have the Minnesota Timberwolves 2031 first-round pick, which could be valuable if Anthony Edwards chooses to move on at some point, which is something that's been thrown around every once in a while. You've also got the Spurs 2029 pick. So the Kings have a lot of different draft picks to work with, and they're going to bring in a lot of great young talent. The Kings, they're also, as we are seeing them rebuild, while the NBA draft lottery is going to be revamped and it won't be as great to be on the lower side in terms of wins, you will see teams maybe in the 12, 13 seed range jumping up in the NBA draft. But the Kings, they'll still be around that 1 to 10 range, and there's going to be a lot of great players. We don't know a ton about the next draft class yet, just because many of them, while there are some in college, obviously, a lot of the great incoming freshmen haven't necessarily showcased their skills to a national audience just yet. But I'm really excited just because the Kings are going to evolve into a younger team. That's what we've wanted to see for so long. Hopefully, they'll add some wings, add some length, which has been a big issue of concern. They can't really or defensive rebound very well. They can't really guard the wings too well just yet. We've seen Keegan Murray kind of on an island guarding everybody by himself, and that's why he's been less of an efficient three-point shooter, and he's experienced more injuries as he's kind of carrying the weight of the team himself. And I'd say for the biggest keys for them next season, just prioritize the young players, prioritize their development. Don't worry about how Zach LaVine's feelings are going to be after he's put on the bench, or don't worry about DeMontis Sabonis and him not getting a double-double every single game. Worry about the future. That's what's the most important thing for any rebuilding team. It's great to have these extra pieces who can add veteran presences in the locker room, but at the end of the day, it's all about the young pieces and witnessing their development and seeing them blossom into great players.
Absolutely, man. Very articulate. I don't
you.
have anything to say after that because you paint the picture very clearly of what the Sacramento Kings need to do. And I think eventually fortune's going to come around and we might see the Kings actually have and hold the number 1 pick some point these next couple of years. I think for the Kings though, just from my observation, I think they have to keep going the route. You're gonna take some losses, some very it might even turn out to be blowouts. As a Rockets fan, going through the times when we selected Jalen Green, and after that it was Jabari Smith Jr. We got to get Alperen Sengun as well. Some games were very tough to watch.
Yeah.
But you got to understand the speed of the NBA is very much so different than at the college level, and even at summer league. Summer league, you're just getting like a little glimpse. Unfortunately, a lot of those players are not going to play in the NBA. But I think with like I said, with getting Acuff Jr., which I think was a very solid selection. I actually wanted Acuff to go to the Kings. I think they need that next guy up, that next man up that could be a very great point guard in the hey, how you doing?
Sorry about him.
He's good. He's good. Hey guys, I want to welcome Ethan's cat to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, he's trying to drink my water now too.
But I absolutely think that in terms of the Sacramento Kings, I think that they're moving in the right direction. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to end up going to that game. I really want to see Darius Acuff, and I definitely want to see Emmanuel Sharp. I think it's going to be a good game when the Kings play the Rockets. And I don't know why, but for some reason, man, it doesn't matter how bad, and not to go against you, but how bad the Kings are. It seems like when the Rockets play the Kings, they always end up losing. I don't think they won against the Kings last season, so I think it's coming up due for a win against the Sacramento Kings.
We'll see.
We'll definitely see. So, Ethan, my next question, I want to get into the NBA draft and scouting, right?
Right.
So my next question for you is, as someone who covers the draft very closely, what's one prospect or trend you're most excited about in this year's draft class?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about this year's draft class, there's one name that's kind of been on a lot of people's minds lately, and that's Alan Graves. For me, Graves, I wrote about him. I actually, when the Kings were rumored to potentially trade up for another first round draft pick, he was a name that I really wanted them to see or wanted to see them potentially grab. He's 6'7", with a 7-foot wingspan, and I saw this stat recently. He's one of 13 players since 2008 to have a block and steal percentage above 4.8. So for the analytical heads out there, that stat will make some sense to you. But essentially, what this means to the average NBA fan is he can make a positive impact with his steals and blocks on a lot of different aspects of his defensive game are great. He is a great defensive playmaker as well. And his specific stats, I did some research before this. He's got 16.8 points per game in summer league, 6.8 rebounds, 3.0 assists, and one aspect of his game that people have been critiquing in college, which is three-point shot and his jump shot in general. But he shot 50% from three thus far in summer league. He's averaged 2.3 steals and one block a game, and he's plus 43 overall. That is a high impact player, the guy that's going to be great in the NBA. The Toronto Raptors lucked out with that pick. I had him going
Absolutely.
even earlier. And you see a lot of debate online whether spreadsheet fans versus eye test fans, watching the game specifically or looking at the spreadsheets and analytics, the deeper analytics. It's always a debate between which one is more valuable, the analytics or actually watching the games themselves. I personally tend to go for a mix of both, but fans of spreadsheets, fans of analytics were heavily into Alan Graves, and they're definitely being proven right. I mean, he's played some outstanding basketball, and he's going to be a steal of the draft, in my opinion. I know that Raptors team, I mean, they got Scotty Barnes, Kawhi Leonard might potentially be going there. They've got Jamal Shedd from the University of Houston. That's probably the best defensive team in the NBA, I would say. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
And you cannot forget for the Toronto Raptors, Colin Murray Boyles.
That's true.
I think he's a very fantastic player, and the Toronto Raptors did a very good job of making sure he was not in that trade for Kawhi Leonard. I think they're going to be a monster team this upcoming season.
Definitely.
And defensively, it's going to be very hard to get shots up. I mean, from the 3-point line all the way to the rim, you're going to definitely have to work for your shots. So I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out for Alan Graves. I'm very much so an eye test person, but I do love a little bit of the analytics, which I find fascinating. I know the Rockets used analytics to take Alperen Sengun in the draft where they selected Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green was kind of like their swing pick.
Right.
Everyone was hoping for Cade Cunningham that year, but unfortunately we got two, which is okay. But Alperen Sengun was their analytic pick. And he's turned out very well for the Rockets, 2-time All-Star. So, sometimes I know it's here like this when it comes to analytics. But sometimes you can hit really big when it comes to analytics. Sometimes it's
Yeah, definitely.
So, my next question for you. What do you look for when evaluating young talent and potential NBA contributors?
Yeah, I mean, first off, what I typically look for is effort on both ends of the floor. Obviously, you want to have raw talent, raw individual talent, like guys like Darius Acuff or Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, all those guys that were high up in the draft class. But I typically want to look for a willingness to, make an unselfish play, put their body on the line, do things like Emmanuel Sharp does. At the end of the day, when, like, let's say we have a second round pick, they're not gonna be players that have high individual talent that are gonna like exceed everybody. They're guys that may end up being role players. You've had some outliers like Nikola Jokic or Draymond Green, but realistically, you're looking at a role player, a long-term role player who could evolve into a high-level starter or all-star, but you just want to see them have play with a lot of effort, play with intensity, play like they enjoy basketball. And that's typically what I look for. Just somebody who plays with their heart in the game. Caleb Wilson was talking about this in a post-game interview recently. He talks about how he just enjoys basketball, how he loves the game, and he plays with a ton of heart, ton of intensity. So obviously you want to have high level players. Oh wow. high level players in terms of talent, but you also want to have guys that are willing to make the right play and make the right read, put their body on the line, do things that prove that they care about the game.
Absolutely, and well said. Especially for me as a coach, I coach AAU basketball. All those things are what I think any coach looks for. Even the coaches that I've had that coach college, they look for those things. Um, Not just skill set when it comes to how talented you are, but just doing the necessary things that I think makes you a complete basketball player, right? Diving on the floor for loose balls, playing defense, especially at an elite level, studying your opponent. I think all those things kind of contribute, and exactly the thing that you said, into having a complete player and someone who is talented and could potentially contribute in the NBA. So,
Definitely.
Ethan, I want to get into some broader topics with you now.
Okay.
So, how has social media and independent journalism changed the way young reporters break into covering the NBA?
Yeah, I think social media has made it a lot easier for people to break into the NBA. Thanks to social media, I was able to build a platform, able to connect with a lot of great people. He's finally gone, but I was able to connect with, NBA reporters, Sacramento beat reporters, people from across the country. And through social media, you can go viral in an instant. While I personally didn't go viral, I built a platform over time, and that works too. But some kid NBA reporters can go viral overnight just for their analysis of certain games, having a tone of voice, having that it factor, I guess, and it allows people to discover that it factor very early on. I mean, in the past, obviously there was radio, television, but that didn't necessarily allow young people to burst onto the scene so quickly as you can now. But nowadays, I mean, you've got guys. I have a friend, or I have somebody that I know on this app named Josh. He did an analysis of the Brooklyn Nets after a game, and he got over 100,000 views overnight. You discover people discover your tone of voice and what you know, what you don't know, really early on, and that can allow you to connect with some great people very early in your career and gives you a great head start. Although it can also it can also be said that since social media is so popular, since everybody's on it now, there are so many people trying to make it big through social media that it can be tough to actually set yourself apart because so many people are trying to do what you're doing. So, what I typically do in that case, I just try to write for me. I try to, do things that I'm passionate about, and that passion shines through. I mean, I love basketball, and I think people can really tell that I love it. I know it, and I want to create, great stories people can relate to, people can understand, human interest, or just stats in general. I mean, it can be tough to differentiate yourself, but I just try to do my best to let my passion shine through and let my hard work speak for itself.
Love it. And the one thing I'll say is that you're putting in the, like I say, you're putting in the work. I can see the passion, and you have a very bright future. Very, very bright future.
Thank you.
Um, so my next question for you, what advice would you give to other young journalists or content creators trying to build a career in sports?
One of the great pieces of advice that I've received is just to do what you're passionate about. Don't like if you're specifically a young journalist, don't write stories that you believe other people will enjoy, or don't well, obviously write stories people want to see, but don't look at the headlines and say, I'm going to write about that because that's what people want. Write something that you're passionate about. Write what you want to write, and don't have this, subconscious in your mind saying, "Oh, people don't care about the Kings. People don't care about this or that." You care about it, and that's all that matters. And there's an audience for everything. Social media is so massive that there could be thousands of people who care about your specific niche topic that you're passionate about. It might seem impossible, let's say this is kind of a random example of let's say you're passionate about crocheting or something and you want to write stories about that. There are millions of people who are interested in crocheting. Even if you don't know anybody in your life, there are people out there who are interested. So just kind of take it upon yourself to write what you're interested in. And if you're a content creator, create content that you love. Even if people might call you cringe, or people at your school, if you're young like me, people might call you out and say, "Hey, that what you're doing is dumb, or what you're doing isn't going to matter in the end. You're not going to make a platform. You're not going to gain followers." Just write for you, create for you, and do things based on passion, not based on what other people create? What other standards people create? What other societal norms that people want to demonstrate or try to push upon you?
Well said. Ethan, I'm going to throw you a curveball right here.
I'm ready.
So, if there are any matchups that you would be interested in going to for next season, what would they be? At least three matchups.
Like Kings games?
Kings games.
All right. First off, I probably would want to go to the first time the Kings play the team that LeBron James ends up on. We obviously, at the time of recording, we don't know what team LeBron's going to end up with. It could be 76ers, Timberwolves, Cavaliers, but whoever he does end up playing for, I want to be at that first time he goes and faces off against the Kings. Another matchup, I think I would say a game against the Brooklyn Nets, the first time they play the Nets. I think online there's been a big rivalry brewing between Nets fans and Kings fans just regarding Mikal Brown Jr., the 6th overall pick for the Nets, and Darius Acuff Jr., the 7th overall pick for the Kings. I think they're both incredible players, and I wish nothing but the best for them. I think that's the standpoint that people should be portraying, not saying this one's better, this one's worse, this one is going to do better in the long run. This is one I want to do better. I just go with the mindset that both are great players, and it's going to be an incredible matchup. They're both good friends from what I've heard, and the rivalry has been created online just, because media, whether national or local, they just want to create narratives. And while I'm not a big fan of that, I understand that that's par for the course. So I'm just curious to see what a matchup between them would look like. And last up, I just think any Kings versus Warriors game is always an incredible atmosphere. I think next year, a lot more Warriors fans may flock into Golden One Center just because some Kings fans aren't necessarily bought into the team right now because they're not going to do well, and that's perfectly understandable. But a Kings Warriors game is always a great matchup. If Steph Curry is healthy and you've also got a healthy Kings team, I think it'll be a fun game. So those are three that I'd definitely be interested in attending.
Nice. Well, Ethan, that is it. YouTube, that is it. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Clutch City Connect podcast. Ethan, let the people know where they can find you.
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter or X. I'm just the same name, Ethan Minton, or you can search up at eTrain Sports. I'm also a writer for The Lead. So if you search up Ethan Minton on The Lead or just any Sacramento Kings related article, you may tend to find me. I'm the newest Kings articles that are on there. I've also got a Substack where you can find some of my interviews with people like Darvin Ham or just my more personal articles that I'd written before my time at The Lead. That's etraintalksports.substack.com. That's linked to my actual Twitter page. So that long mouthful or wordful is not something you're going to have to write. Just click a link and it should be there. But a lot of my main sports commentary is on my Twitter. I run a nonprofit where I give books to kids and get new diverse books to local schools in Sacramento. You can find more about that work on my Twitter page. I post about it from time to time. But overall, that's where you can find me. I hope to see you there. And, I hope that you'll follow along for this journey. I mean, I don't know where this journalism journey is going to take me. I could end up on ESPN, or I could stay at The Lead, or I could, end up at The Athletic. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, Ethan, I would definitely say I will be one of the ones that will be following along. And I don't think this should be the end of your appearances on Clutch City Connect. But, guys, you guys know where to find them. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Clutch City Connect podcast. My main man, Ethan, thank you so much for coming on. It's a blessing to have you on. Once again, you will hear that from me a countless amount of times because you could have chosen to be anywhere else, but you chose to be right here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's your guy, TJay Anderson, and my main man, Ethan Minton. Peace.
Clutch City Connect, Clutch City Connect, Clutch City Connect. Houston Rocket News, everything you need, we keep it in check. Scores, interviews, and player stats, we keep it in check. Subscribe to see what's next. It's Clutch City Connect.